You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back with another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. You guys probably saw me over there arguing with the Texas fans for no reason. I just felt like having a good argument with those guys, the numbers nerd, and then the whatever you want to call Steven. I guess you could say just the unathletic baboon. But anyways, we are on the Horns Down Podcast, and we're going to be talking real football. We're going to be talking about the team, our team, OU. And I got some guests with me. I got Chris Mason of the Sooners 360 podcast, and I also have that guy, Jason Watkins, who's going to pop on here soon. So with that being said, people, we're going to get into it tonight. We got the Auburn game we're going to talk about. We got recruiting that we'll talk about as well. We just saw the decommit. And unless Chris Mason tells me differently, I'm going to tell people this right here, just my earnest opinion, and throw my 2 cents in that barrel right now. Wasn't the biggest fan anyways. But before we get to recruiting, let's go ahead and talk about what we came here to talk about. So, Auburn matchup. Jason will come on here soon whenever he's ready. But, Mr. Mason, I'll give you the floor. What's your thoughts about this matchup?
Well, Auburn obviously has some gaudy offensive stats. Mostly due to the 2 games that they won. The first game, 77, I think 3 or something, and then they put up 45 on UNM, New Mexico. They haven't seen a defense anywhere near as good as Oklahoma's. Cal basically, won a rock fight with them where Peyton Thorne threw a pick 6. In the Arkansas game, they put some yardage up, but again, they're committing a lot of turnovers. Defensively, they seem to be pretty good. I don't think they're like elite. Arkansas was able to move the ball on them quite a bit. So I think they are imploding more at the quarterback position than Oklahoma, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
OU is at least not doubled back to their previous starter yet. Hopefully we don't do that. But so I think they'll probably start Peyton Thorne just because the kid they tried was a disaster. Thorne is committing turnovers at a high rate. I don't know. I think we're looking at a rock fight between 2 offenses that are going to try and not make mistakes, and 2 defenses where I think OU has. I think OU's turnover creating ability probably scares Auburn to death right now. So I think we're going to see a very limited Auburn offense. Just try and ball control. Thorne very short, not putting anything into harm's way. I think we're going to see a very limited Auburn offense, and I think Auburn's defense is pretty good. The front 7 is decent. And I think they're going to just try and limit their exposure on offense and hope that their defense can keep them into a special teams kind of one possession thing into the fourth quarter. Hope that their crowd puts them over the top. That's a broad frame. I think if OU was to come out and get any kind of offensive continuity early, and I think there are plays out there. There are plays out there against Tennessee. There were certainly plays when Hawkins took over. So I think there are plays out there for OU. I think if OU was to get any kind of points on the board, it would force Auburn out of a shell, and then I think OU could force some turnovers and maybe be in a 2-3 score lead going into the fourth quarter, and roll out of Jordan Hare Stadium with a win. That's my broad frame on Auburn. They have gaudy stats, but most of those stats are piled against against terrible competition. I mean, Alabama, AAMU,
yeah.
Which is you just throw that out. But they Freeze threw their quarterbacks under the bus and is getting a lot of heat internally. I don't think it'll be this. I don't think this is going to be the Auburn snake pit kind of crowd. I think if OU could have any success early, I think the crowd could check out, and OU could find themselves in a game that they can, with their defense, they can walk away with. But that's the broad frame of what I see from Auburn there.
I'll jump in here now. I feel good about this game. I really do, man. I really do. And that's not just me being an optimistic person I am, but I feel pretty good about it simply because I don't necessarily know that I saw enough out there when Hawkins was in the game that made me believe, we're going to go undefeated the rest of the way. But it made me feel better about going to Auburn this week, right? Because the decision maker was a lot better as far as, hey, I'm going to either take off running with it or I'm going to, hit my guys in stride. I'm going to take what the defense has given me, and I'm going to just, live to play the next play. Also, I think another thing that you have to kind of be excited for is the fact that you saw a little bit of a pulse on that offense. Not necessarily the run game per se, but you saw Jaquez Petaway make some really good plays and look like, okay, he could be a decent Robin to what we're getting out of Deion Burks, right? So that, but at the end of the day,
I'm talking about his injury status, Burks.
Yeah,
he's questionable for the game,
and that's going to hurt as well. But you're sitting there saying that, hey, look, they've given Jackson a game plan where, hey, we're going to help you an awful lot. There are going to be some plays that you have to make on your own, but we're going to help you as much as we can. And I think they're going to do the same thing for him. Quick passing game, just trying to move the sticks. I think you will see some run game, and hopefully we're not just stuck in the inside zone game or whatnot. We can actually try to hit the edges and different things like that. But I feel like this is a really good bounce back game. I think the defense is going to show up. Offensively, you just have to go out there. And I think that with his demeanor and all the rest of that stuff, I'm just looking for whatever intangible is going to give us the edge in that quarterback game. I think that they will turn the ball over a couple of times in this game. Their defense, as I was just saying on the SEC Connect, their defense is one to where they're looking for consistency themselves, right? They want to get the 3 and out. They want to feel good about themselves. But anytime a big play happens or two, they're on the verge of getting the 3 and out, and they let up. That's whenever you really take the breath out of that defense, and they begin to kind of implode internally. You can see it on the field because they look like a really, really solid unit. Like everybody, all 11 guys are on the same page. And then all of a sudden it's a lot of disconnect. Like they're just playing two totally different games out there on the field. So for me, I feel good. I like our chances going into Auburn. I think it's going to be a weird day, but I'm glad it's a day game. And I'm glad that, we've had this time to prepare for them. So I'm hopeful that guys will be healthy. And I'm hopeful that the decision-making, because for me, that's what it all boils down to. I know these past couple of weeks I've been talking about complimentary football, but I think for me, quarterback play really boils down, and offensively, play calling and just quarterback play, I really, really believe execution has to be the main word that's on your mind, because the execution has just been poor, whether it's just play calling against the defense or whatever you're seeing up there in the box is not working, or just when that ball snaps, you're not getting it to your guys. Jason?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to this game coming up, it's a matter of you've got to get out there and continue to have your defense kind of dominate the way that you had opportunities. You were in the game last week because of what this defense was doing and wasn't letting a good quarterback get much going. Got a couple of strip sacks on him. He only, he passed for under 200 yards. And, I know that they want to talk about Tennessee letting their foot off the gas. There's a lot of evidence out there. Yes, I know that Josh Heupel said what he said to Nico, but there's a lot of evidence out there of them playing press man and throwing the ball in the second half and all some of that other stuff, as well. So whatever they're trying to talk about, that's all well and good. The bottom line is your defense needs to come out here and put you in a position where you can go down there, make a couple of plays early on the offense, and take a lead. That's what they need. They need some good things to happen on offense and for the defense to continue to give them opportunities to do that stuff. That's what I feel like. If you can go out there, your defense is able to set you up in field position like that. Look, Michael Hawkins gets field position like that last week. He's in the end zone.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. And I'm not going to sit here and just bash on Jackson Arnold. I think that Jackson, it's not really fair to do that because I do believe that a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's just, I think he kind of got to where he heard too much of the stuff from the bowl game last year, right? You're paying too much attention a little bit to social media and the things that people are saying. And you know how it is in Texas when and he's been living in Texas. A lot of people talking a lot of trash coming out of Austin. And it permeates throughout for the Red River rivalry. We know what that is. At some point, you got to toughen up and handle it, though. And the plays that he made, there was no other decision to make but to pull him out of that football game. No other decision to make. Because at that moment, I'm sitting in the stands looking at it, and they literally 56% completion percentage, 3 turnovers, 2 of them absolutely egregious turnovers that you cannot even come close to explaining or there's no rhyme or reason for it. So there's just no way that you can allow it. You had to make the change. You probably should have made the change a little bit earlier, but you didn't. He put you in a position to where you could have won. Had they come away with just field goals on those 2 turnovers that they got instead of turning the ball right back over, It's a different football game. So I think that you had your opportunities for Jackson Arnold. He didn't make good on them. They were patient with him for 4 weeks. And once it turned into this, and I think it sucks. And I think there's a lot of stupid narratives that are out there. But in the end, now you still have everything in front of you. Everything in front of you that you are looking for as a team is still there. Everything that you're looking for.
I just think that, like I said, man, it's been a number of things. It's not necessarily just on Jackson, but you kind of got to figure out what you have in that room, especially. And that's not me saying, hey, we got to throw away the season. I'm just saying you have to figure out what's going on because the decision making just has been porous. And that kid, he brought a little bit of life to that team, and being both kids are mobile. Okay, so let's not sit out here and act like Jackson Arnold isn't a really good athlete, right? Both kids are mobile, but one kid is more decisive as far as when he's going to make a move than the other, and it's apparent. And you can see it in mop-up duty, and you can see it now, right? You saw it this last game. But still, focusing on Auburn, it's going to be a decent test. You got to watch out for the QB run game. The biggest thing for me defensively is I want to see us be a little bit more disciplined. I want to see us not necessarily play as aggressive coming down like Billy did that one time. But the thing that has to be shored up, in my opinion, is Samuel's gonna have to play a really, really good game. And I'm hoping that we can see. I mean, do you guys think we see Eli Bowen or Peyton Bowen? Because I'm sorry, I don't want to see Woody at Cheetah.
I think it's Sam O, and I think the Jacoby Johnson position change maybe keeps Eli Bowen at cornerback.
Yeah.
Do you play? I mean, you've got a good safety rotation going. Do you want to mess with that? I don't know. I don't know what the backup Cheetah position looks like at this point. I think it's interesting. Do you move Peyton because Jaden Hardy and Boganowski and Powers are all in the safety room? Do you move Peyton Bowen and get him on the field and get you another playmaker? Get all through because Robert Spears-Jennings is playing out of his mind, right? I mean, he's playing maybe the best safety on the OU roster, which sounds kind of crazy, but after the Tennessee game. I mean, so yeah, I think that you have some options there, Chris. I'm not sure what they will do. There is one thing does concern me a little bit about the game is that Keltner's out. So we're back to Zach Schmidt as the kicker.
What happened to Keltner?
He's out. The availability report says he's out. I don't know what the story is there. Wasn't anything said in the press conference today. So I'm not sure what the story is there. So that's a little scary in terms of a one possession game, needing a field goal maybe to go up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, maybe give yourselves a little padding. That's a little bit scary. You pay off a big play and then the drive stalls. That's kind of scary there. I do think Auburn not being 4-0, this isn't a night game. They're not high. They're in a little disarray. We got T Boomer saying somebody heard something about a pancreas. Okay. If he's had like an appendix or something, something flare up like that, then that would explain why he's out. Obviously, there's nothing. I don't remember anything from the Tennessee game that he was banged up or looked like he was kicking hurt. So that off the field explanation is as good as anything I've got. So that's a concern. Auburn has been self-destructing. The concern, I guess, I've heard from other podcasts that they're very concerned. This is the week Auburn puts it all together. I'm not sure you put it all together against the best defense that you're facing. That doesn't quite seem to add up. Didn't add up for us last week. So I don't quite see how that works. Generally speaking, you kind of, those quarterbacks are what they are. But, we have had a previous history of making average quarterbacks looking good. But this defense just looks different. So my biggest concern obviously would be the O-line has another horrible game. Hawkins is just swamped, and we're struggling to put any drives and points together. And Auburn gets a big play in the passing game, like Houston did, and gets some cheap points, and we're struggling to get a drive to match up. I mean, that's the kind of the negative scenario on it. I mean, it's OU by 2.5, so that's basically OU by 6 or 6.5. So that's where we are. I mean, it's if Hawkins is able to go to Auburn and have a great start on the road at Auburn, that's the best possible world scenario, right? And find some guys and make some plays. I do think I went back and watched some of his high school footage. I do think the zone read run game has to be there, not RPO, just pure zone read.
Yeah.
He was very effective at that in high school, using the zone read. Big plays in the running game, left and right, from his high school days. I think the zone read will catch Auburn crashing on the running back, and I think Hawkins could break out of there and make some big plays, maybe house a long run or two to give OU, jumpstart what they're doing. The other thing, as I noticed, is that when he was pressured and he had to basically try and escape from the pocket, he's always looking downfield. And one of the things he did a very good job at was passing downfield, middle of the field, catching receivers crossing, and then hitting them in stride as they broke open, running down the middle of the field. When he broke containment, before he broke containment, he was looking downfield. So that could fit into some routes and some plays from folks like Reagans and Petaway and even Thompson as well.
And I think he was finding those guys, and I think this is a game where you can move that pocket for him a little bit to let him get on the outside and hit. Get
on the edge. Get on the edge. Dual run. Some run pass mixes. Some run pass options for him out on the edge.
I don't think that you try to run him up the gut, but I do think that if you can get him out there in space, which I think you will, I think you'll see them run a bunch of plays and have Raggins and Petaway, like you said, but hell, Bauer Sharp, Jake Roberts. I think you'll see guys like that, in that backfield as far as just little dump offs. But I mean, those are the key differences that you see between he and Jackson, especially in that game last week, is that the pressure that he saw and all the rest of that, he had to make some split decisions. I think that the pass that he missed on Petaway, which I think the little sprint out play that he missed to Petaway, to me, that's money probably 9 out of 10 times if they're actually, if he's getting 1 reps, right? If he's able to get reps with the ones, he's able to be out there and be in rhythm. I think that's a catch 90% of the time. There were some really good plays. And one thing that I saw that he does differently, and this is not to pile on Jackson, but one thing that I love to see from my quarterback is just, like I said, the decision making. He put the ball in the gut, right, of the running backs. He was willing and ready and willing to use the running backs or whatnot. I think early on when Tatum got hurt, is Tatum out or is Tatum questionable? Yeah. So that's another thing, right? But you're hopeful Sam Franklin, but I think it's clear Barnes and Hicks, right? Barnes and Hicks will be my guys, but hell, you got Sawchuk right there, so you gotta figure something out with that running game. But if Auburn thinks that they got it going and that this is going to be the week, hell, damn it, why can't it be the week for us? Defensively, I feel like I know where we're going to be at. They'll keep us in the game if it's a tight one. If it's a blowout, we'll blow them out. If Michael Hawkins lives up to whatever hype people are trying to build around him, if he lives up to that, then it's a blowout. We go in there, we handle business, we go into the bye week, and we can definitely focus on us. BV will have 2 weeks to plan for Sark, and that's something that I think a lot of people should be on the lookout for. But regardless, this weekend right here is about 2 things. 1, getting another win, getting to 4-1, and then 2, getting to the bye week to get healthy. That's the biggest thing, to get guys healthy, who you can get healthy, right? Deshaun McCullough, Jake Taylor's, the guys like that, you're giving them 2 weeks to get healthy for the Texas game. You go in here and handle business, that's the biggest thing. I'm not going to sit here and go crazy and say, oh, yeah, our run game has to be there, this and that. We just have to go out there and make plays, people. I think that's the one thing from our offense we've just been missing. We got to go out there and make plays.
Sorry. Taylor Tatum is doubtful.
Okay.
Deion Burks is questionable. Jake Taylor is probable, and Deshaun McCullough is questionable. Andrew Anthony, doubtful, but Nick Anderson is out. And obviously there's some rumors floating around Nick Anderson, which I don't have any strong data on one way or the other. Yeah.
But no, we gotta. Biggest thing for us is that, like I said, we just gotta go make plays, people. I mean, hell, that's before we sit here and really try to dissect the offense and this and that. We just gotta go make plays and get touchdowns. When is the last game you saw us? Now Tennessee, obviously, but when is the last game that you saw us put 2 drives together where we went and got back-to-back touchdowns? Was that the Tulane game?
Yeah, right? Tulane. We started that Tulane first half was very good. It was a drop.
It was promising.
It should have been 24 points. We missed the field goal because of the stupid clock management thing.
Yeah.
Javonte Barnes, if he catches that swing pass from Arnold, which wasn't great, but he probably moves us into even better field goal range or gets a first down. I mean, you should have had 24, 28 points in the first half of the Tulane game, and that probably would have been enough to. And they should have and clockwise should have not given Tulane a chance to get a touchdown before half. I think there's plays out there. A lot of the footage and the people diagnosing what's broken down. Josh on Sooner Scoop posting a lot of stuff on YouTube. There were plays to be made, and Jackson missed quite a lot of plays.
Yeah.
Especially keeping versus giving the ball to the running back. I just think the whole it went off the rails, and I don't know why. Everyone asked me why. People went down the rabbit hole of why we didn't keep Dylan Gabriel and wasting all those kind of cycles talking about that crap. Like Dylan was ever coming back. He wasn't. So I think, it's, to me,
It's a bunch of stupid narratives that don't matter.
to me, what I learned from Brent Venables, if I'm Brent Venables, what I learned from this is no more anointing young quarterbacks starters in spring.
Jason?
Anointing, well, I guess that kind of is what they have. They were expecting that, because it sounds to me like from the time this all started that once spring got here, everybody knew who the guy was, and it wasn't Jackson. And that's just what we're hearing now. Look, I was one of the guys that, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't. I was one of the guys that was telling you that we needed to give Jackson time and expected him to do, to get better week by week. And that was what was the hope was there. I mean, we're talking about a guy who won Elite 11 and was the player of the year in the National High School Player of the Year, played for 2 6A state championships. It's not like the guy's a chump. Now, the way that he played, he allowed it. I think that there was some things that sometimes parents get in the way, sometimes whatever it may be gets in the way, but whatever it is, he hasn't been able to get his mind right. This going, and you had to sit him down. There was no two ways around it. He had to sit down after that backwards pass that isn't even in the play. That's not even part of the play. I mean, I would have gotten 3 to 5 yards running through that hole if he hands that one off. Javonte probably gets 15. It's there's no way. Yeah.
I just think if Brent looks at this, he's got to see with the way, because obviously, Hawkins wasn't highly ranked, right? He had a whole bad junior year and everyone downgraded him. And then the recruiting services, I'll be honest, never really reevaluated Michael based upon his senior year. They didn't. They weren't looking at his film. The quarterback rankings get kind of locked early. If I'm Brent, what I come out of this is if I see this kind of situation again, but I'm not naming anybody. Bob wouldn't name starters until like game week, right?
Yeah.
He would delay unless he had like a returning veteran, right? And it was obvious, right? But I think, moving forward, this was the Rattler Williams situation. Just let's not name unless you're a veteran, established starter who's excelling at a high level. Guess what? Every spring you're fighting for your job at quarterback.
Well, and that's what he's trying to build the culture as anyway, is the best guy gets the job at every other position. Every other position. So I think that, look, I've been saying this for the last few days on my show. Guys, the best thing that BV could have done was make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
That showed that he was able to make a decision as a head coach. I think he graduated from defensive coordinator, masquerading as a head coach, to head coach the other day.
He's been through this, though, Jason. He's been through this at Clemson.
Right. But he had to make but listen, he has not taken
that wasn't his call. That wasn't his call,
side.
That wasn't his. Yeah. It
wasn't. And he hasn't taken responsibility for the offensive side of the ball in the last 2 seasons. And coming into this, he really hasn't done it either. All of it falls at the feet of Brent Venables. In the end, it all falls at the feet of Brent Venables. You can sit here and say, well, he's a defensive coach. He's a defensive coach. No, he's not. He's a damn football coach. He's a head coach. It's your job to make the decisions about he's talking about just now. I'm not going to unblock him. I haven't blocked him.
Go ahead, Jason.
He started some shit.
Go ahead, Jason. Go.
Look, when it comes to BV, you have to take responsibility for the whole thing. And the fact is that he's come. I don't love that we're talking about the RPO so much in the last couple of days. Damn it, we've been running the RPO this whole time that you've been here. And the last time I checked, that shit is read before the snap. And if he was reading it wrong before the snap, you knew that coming into the damn game. You knew it coming into the game. I know some of these guys are better in practice than they are in games. I get all this. The point being is, if you thought that was the problem, then fix it then.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is we've had times that we felt like that there was things that he didn't really. There's too much autonomy on the offensive side.
Yeah,
we don't love the way DeMarco has his rotation for his running backs. We don't love what we're seeing out of the offensive line and that rotation. And he never really has an answer for it. It's time for BV to have that answer.
I would say this right here. I think that the RPO has definitely been a point of focus. I know people put a lot of light on it, but I coming into this in the green room, maybe you heard me say this to Chris Mason. I said, look, I think the RPO has been a big part of our offense this year simply because at times I see Latrell trying to run a raid, right? I see him trying to run an air raid, but I think the RPO and all the rest of that is what Jackson is most comfortable with right now. And unfortunately, that reduces and that stagnates our offense because I think that you could get vertical and you could see some stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. People are saying that our wide receivers are burners, right? Are not creating separation and all the rest of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, when you're running that RPO and all the rest of that stuff, like I said, you're not necessarily running offense that you want to run for the betterment of the team because you can't, because the decision making is not there. There's not a marriage between the decision making and the execution right now. So the fact of the matter is that I think that they have to run what he's comfortable with, and I think that at some point during that Tennessee game, you just got fed up with it. Well, after all the turnovers, and you just realize this is just not going to work. And I think that you still saw some of those base RPO schemes and stuff like that, but you saw Latrell kind of run more just straight up spread offense, trying to get back into the game and making Michael Hawkins a lot more comfortable, getting him outside of the pocket, not letting him sit in the pocket and then just run out of it like Jackson was doing. But you saw Hawkins moving the pocket and actually making some plays down the field. And when he was sitting in the pocket, I mean, he was able just to pick up yardage, which that's all you're really asking this team to do, especially going to Auburn. I'm not asking you to make the big play down the field because we haven't been able to do that all year. But if you could pick up those 7 to 8 yard plays with your arm, that's great as well. I think the run game is going to be interesting this weekend simply because Michael Hawkins adds that level to it. So I think that if you do see some RPO or whatever the case may be, I think that's going to help is the fact that he's more decisive. So I think they're going to be crashing down an awful lot to see that. So that takes one guy away, right? But I don't know, man. I really hope that Jackson figures it out, whether that's here at OU, wherever he's going. Never want to see anybody fail, but it just has not worked in the offense, has been the issue these past 4 weeks. And it's taken me a while to get there, but I'll definitely be the first to say it because defense did not beat you at the in the Tennessee game, contrary to Reese Winters, who's in the chat. Shout out to that Tennessee fan that's watching. But defense was not the problem. It was the offense. So offensively, like I said, I'm not even asking them to go out there and play true complementary football. I'm just asking them to go out there and make enough plays to win this game. Because we got to start somewhere, and I think we have to go back to ground zero, which is execute and just make plays, and then be consistent after that while you're doing it, when you're doing it, right? So, I mean, there's building blocks that we have to get to, but I think that we gotta start back at ground zero, especially bringing in a freshman quarterback like Hawkins. But I'm excited though, man. I'm excited for football per usual. So I think that Auburn's going to be a great matchup for us. I think it's going to be loud there. They're going to be jacked, regardless of what Freeze has said. Freeze has said crazy stuff last year, right? He said a lot of crazy stuff last year. He had some of the best post-game pressers since Mike Leach. So, I mean, I think you gotta just understand that they're going to be jacked regardless because OU's coming to town, right? They want to stick it to OU, this and that, second SEC game. So let's go out there and get a win, fellas. That's all that we really got to do.
It's a must. It's a must, right? It's time for you to go out there and turn things around. They're 3-1, not freaking 1-3.
It's a must for both teams. But with that being said, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Mr. Mason, I'm going to give you the floor for a little bit. Go ahead and tell us You can run through your topics as far as the recruiting. Let's talk some recruiting tonight. I guess honestly, let's start with the decommit tonight. What's going on with the D line right now with the D tackles? Boucard. I mean, I've heard that Boucard simply wanted to take some more visits or whatnot, and then I'm not sure what's going on with the Moore kid out of St. Louis, but I think a lot of us already predicted this simply off of what happened with Neri last year.
Well, yeah, he's from Lee Summit, which I guess is not technically like St. Louis. I guess it's in between. He's the lowest ranked recruit on Rivals. So from a rankings perspective, this doesn't really hurt OU. There's some stories flying around that OU and Moore kind of separated for some reasons that's flying around. I've only seen that at one place, and it's behind a paywall, so I'm not gonna leak somebody else's story. That's their site, that's their reporting. But there's some stuff that going on that would seem to indicate that OU and Moore kind of separated. He was just down for the Houston game, so I don't think this is a case of him ditching OU because he's like dying to go somewhere else. I think this is more a case of OU saying, let's separate for now and see where you are, and go from there. Now, obviously, losing Boucard means you're down to one defensive tackle in the class, Trenton Wilson, who's the highest ranked guy, biggest potential. I love that guy on film. To be super, super 3 technique from Maryland, having a good senior year. I imagine OU will probably offer. I'm surprised they didn't offer anybody after Boucard. Now losing Moore, I think OU will make a couple of offers. There's a JUCO name that's been floating around. His name's Tavion Atkinson, and I think he plays at Trinity Valley. I think I have that right, TVCC. He's from the Houston area. He's 6'5", 280, and he flies around in his JUCO film. So I think there's a chance OU will go after him. They should offer Joseph Mabachu from Georgia. He's 6'5", 300. The Wynn kid from FSU. I don't know if OU has any connections with him there. He's from Georgia. There's some players out there. There's also Malcolm Simpson. He was previously his junior year. He was at Galveston Ball with Jonah Williams, and he transferred to a different high school. Chose Nebraska. Really liked him on film. He's 6'3", 6'4", 260, 275. From that perspective. So there's some names out there that OU should be offering and should be pursuing. I wish those offers had already gone out after you lost Boucard. They need to make. I'm still trying to figure out where the offers are at offensive line, because Babalola is probably not going to decide for another 6 weeks. That puts you further behind adding a 5th high school offensive lineman. And where are the linebacker offers and where are the defensive end offers? So,
well, let me ask you a question too. With the deal with this kid from, what's his name again? Because I know
more from Missouri.
Kamari Moore. So it seems like he was they were expecting him to develop better because he's been committed for a while, right? I mean, this is a guy that.
Yeah, I think he was
a little more out of him. It doesn't feel like he maybe has gotten there.
Well, his measurables have never been like elite. So he's 6 foot, 280, 285. He was like 6 foot, 310. He dropped some bad weight. His film's not bad. I sort of describe him as maybe his ceiling is like an Isaiah Coe with a longer. He's got a long wingspan for a short guy. So that's kind of where I viewed him. He's not. Maybe he's looked at the young defensive lineman we have and he realizes there's no playing time. I don't know. Or OU, or OU's just decided they want to refocus and fit in a different defensive line piece. Now they've lost Boucard. They need a different line. They need a different defensive line piece they want to add. So, I mean, it's not OU needs another high school defensive tackle in this class, for numbers wise. Just like they picked up Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong when they missed out on DJ Hicks. They need another guy. Need one more body. Maybe they talk to Cole Brewer again or Christian Evans. I'd call both those guys. the guy from Georgia the Atlanta guy that they did off of the Mackay. What's his name? Mackay, is it Mackay Little? He verbal to NC State. He's now decommitted. So he visited. Maybe you get him back on board. He's more of a 3 technique too, though. Although, he could be bigger as well, depending upon what goes on. So Chris, I think OU has some guys they should offer, but this isn't a catastrophic loss. This isn't a huge loss. He may have struggled. We're going to talk about some players here in a minute, but he may have struggled to find the playing field if OU's 26 D-line recruiting goes as well as I think it can.
So, and it feels like, to me, I think you're going to – that's not the problem. We're just in here talking – there's a bunch of guys talking about who's got the best D-line between Tennessee and Oklahoma right now. If you're a recruit, it seems like you should be thinking about Oklahoma right now as far as the D-line is concerned, and especially some of these guys that are last-minute pickup type of guys. They'd probably be happy to go to OU.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's got a great defensive line, but a significant part of it will be cashing paychecks next year. Now, they're recruited well at defensive lines. Tennessee's got a good defensive line class coming in. Josh in the NIL.
It's not like you're going to have a hard time filling this spot. It doesn't feel like to me.
No, OU could. It just who do you approach? What can you flip somebody that you really like from somewhere else? These are all things. I mean, Todd Bates is not going to be left at the altar on the signing day with one guy. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, he'll pick up somebody. Our D line's playing great. So I trust him to pick up somebody that will help us. And I think this is maybe, again, like I said, let's just see some story. Let's see the stories break out. But it looks like more. I know you kind of had it's not you, it's me kind of conversation and a kind of moving on and going in a different direction. So we'll see how this all comes out. Disappointed for Kamari. I talked to him once. Really nice kid. So we'll see how this shakes out. But no, this is not. Oh, you can find other players and fit other guys in. If they can get this Atkinson kid from JUCO with 3 years to play, that would be a good situation to fit in because he's a good-looking kid. But like I said, 2026, if they get 3 or 4 of the guys I think they're going to get, Moore might have been over-recruited. Not Boucard, because Boucard's ceiling, I think, was much higher. But Moore might have been like, whoa, what am I going to do here? Because OU might have recruited over him.
So what do you, just kind of moving on, what do you think about or go ahead with the next topic as far as would you say the top 10 kids that visited Oklahoma in September?
Yeah, so OU had 3 really productive visit weekends. So I'll just go through these names a little quick here. So the first name is obviously Ethan Booby Feaster, the wide receiver from DeSoto in 2027. He's a 5-star, top 5 player in the country. They just had Trenton Yancey, 2027, top 10 5-star wide receiver from Duncanville. Then on the defensive line, you had 3 guys for 2026 who I think could be huge pieces. First one is Devarian Deuce Geralds from Georgia. He's a top 25 5-star player. His dad is an Old Miss alum, but he's really interested in OU. He's been to Norman 5 times this year so far. He's 6'2", 265, just a blur. Also plays running back for them for his high school team. And then you've got T.I., the big nose guard from Colorado, visited. He's 6'3", 310. Polynesian kid, I think. His real name is Tufowana Ayatona Umakas.
Oh, wow.
I probably butchered that. But he was the guy that dominated the OU summer camp, dominated the offensive lineman OU gave offers to left and right. He's a big-time kid. He looks great. And then you've got Jake Krull, another 2026 player from IMG. He's the edge rusher, dominating right now, 6'3", 230, just beating up 5-star tackles at camps and events. So those three guys. Then also for 2026, you had 2 linebackers, Keenan Harris from St. Louis, 6'2", 220, top 100 guy in the nation. Kenneth Goodwin, linebacker from California, 6'2", 210, was at Desert Pine in Vegas, which is a connection to Eugene Brooks and Javante Barnes. Now at Narbonne High School in California, playing with Jaden O'Neal. He's going to go to Alabama this weekend. He's a fantastic-looking linebacker. Then one last 2027 kid. I'm not sure if that's 10 or not, but Cooper Witten was back on campus. He's a strong connection to the OU staff. He's a 5-star, probably be the top linebacker for 2027. Dominated the OU summer camps, just looked fantastic on the hoof. Like I said, he's 6'2", maybe 6'3". He's only a high school sophomore. Who knows how big he is by the time he's a senior. So those are probably the kids that I think were some of the top 10 kids who visited OU in September. We're talking 5 stars and, 5 guys who are top 100 players in the nation, including 3 defensive linemen I think they have a great shot at.
I know that when we were texting back and forth, you also talked about the QB recruiting, and how because I know people are probably really, really interested in the quarterback recruiting, especially with, you hear the levies and the whisper, right? The whisper in the wind, and then you hear, Jaden O'Neal, Sperry or whatnot are in the fray, so are in the queue, right? So what is the temperature around all of that right now as far as quarterback recruiting?
Well, I think so. Let's just make one projection and give that as the assumption, okay? Because there's so many moving pieces here. So let's say Michael Hawkins has a productive freshman year and is the de facto starter for OU in 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just make that assumption. Okay. I think probably for Kevin Sperry, that's not quite what you were anticipating walking into. You were anticipating walking into OU's campus and having a year before you could fight for the quarterback position, because you were presuming that Arnold was having a great 24, a great 25, and then Arnold would be leaving, which seems silly right now to kind of talk about. But I think if you were Kevin Sperry, that's kind of what you were thinking was going to be what would happen. So I think probably we'll have some drama from Kevin Sperry before the end of the year. I think it's natural, especially if Hawkins is playing well, because now his OU destination is, he's probably going to have to, if he wants to go to OU, he's got to sit and watch Michael Hawkins for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, injuries happen, and Jackson Arnold just showed us don't count chickens, at all. But I think, and Sperry there was some rumbles when Lebby left. So I think if as we all hope, Mike Hawkins goes out there, plays really well, and has a productive year where it's like, okay, we had a stumble with Arnold, but we're now back on track quarterback-wise. I think that's probably going to cause some drama with Sperry down the road. Now, remember, OU has Brandon Zerbrug and is it Steele Wassel? Is that, I have that right? Steele Wassel?
Yeah.
The guy the preferred walk-on. So he's got 2 redshirting quarterbacks. So they got some backup depth, so to speak. But I do think if Mike has a really productive, I don't say like brilliant, but just say he's productive rest of this year, more help coming online at wide receiver, O-line gets better, hopefully. Obviously, I think, Jackson Arnold to the portal is something that is in the current climate, probably we should expect. So I would think that Sperry, now if Arnold jumps to Mississippi State, does that block where Sperry would want to decommit to?
Yeah.
So I think there's some pieces there. And maybe Sperry just sticks with what's going on with Oklahoma and he's locked in because he's known he played with the Carl Albert guys for a year and he's very invested in the recruiting class. So maybe that overrides some stuff, but I think that's the number one issue. In terms of Jaden O'Neal, I think it probably has the least impact because all of a sudden now he's more in a position, if by the time I get on campus, I got a year to get ready and then compete for after Michael Hawkins leaves. So I don't think Jaden O'Neal is probably that impacted by this. Obviously, any coaching firings, hirings will impact recruiting. I mean, if there's coaches you think are underperforming, I'm not sure, and you say, I want this guy fired, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to, die on that hill and disagree with you right now. But just know that there are implications in recruiting when you do that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
so
you want DeMarco Murray gone? You're probably going to lose. You may be losing Jonathan Hatton.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Hatton right now is putting on a major case to be a 5-star number 1 running back in the country for 2026. I'm not saying that should stop you, but just know that's a possibility. Same thing with if you get rid of Luttrell and some of the people that Jaden O'Neal knows, Jaden O'Neal could open recruiting back up. He's a fantastic prospect, and there'll be any number of schools interested in pursuing him. It was interesting that you had Trey Taylor on campus for the Tennessee game. He was there. So he got to see a QB getting pulled and a QB getting put in. That doesn't appear to have hurt OU at all. He's a 27 QB. He's top 35 in the country. Fringe 5-star. Peyton Houston was supposed to be at the game, but I've not seen any confirmation of that. So I don't know where that stands. The Louisiana quarterback from Evangel Christian, who's in the top 20 for 2027. So, but I think both those guys are probably at least waiting until next spring to decide. So you've got some time to let all the chaos, disperse.
What is your how do you feel about some of those other kids you named as far as like the Booby Easters and kids like that? Is it too early to tell right now, or do you think that OU's still in a good position?
I think OU's in a great position with Trenton Yancey, the 5-star kid from Duncanville. I'd love their position with Ethan Booby Feaster if he wasn't at OU black hole of recruiting DeSoto. Now, maybe Emmett Jones with his high school connections can break the DeSoto curse for the Sooners. That's definitely a possibility. So I think OU will be definitely in the hunt for him. Obviously, LSU will, Texas A&M. The kid's right now the number 4 player in the nation, the number 1 wide receiver. It's not a program including, and obviously at some point Ohio State's going to enter the picture. And, it just seems like they get the number 1 wide receiver every class. It's not been the year I would have. Wide receiver is not going to have the kind of year I had hoped to help boost Emmett Jones recruiting at wide receiver for 2027 and that kind of framework. We're not throwing the ball all over the place with 3 wide receivers looking like NFL prospects because they're all hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think is in a good spot there. They're in a good spot with Deuce Geralds and Jake Krull on the D line for 2026. Obviously, there's some other 2026 defensive linemen I like OU for. Taj Overton, Joseph Terry out of California, Danny Beal out of Arkansas. There's a Tank Arrington out of Bishop Gorman. There's OU in 2026 has their eyes on a lot of D-line talent. And I think they'll end up with a really good D-line class coming out of that group. I think they'll land three or four of those kids and restock the defensive line, which would be great to give you a year of those guys before Stone and Jaden Jackson enter their junior years. They would be juniors in 2026. So I'm not sure that I don't know that both are going pro early, but it would be nice to at least have restocked the room with some high quality freshmen to learn from those guys before they maybe move on to the NFL.
I got you. Well, people, obviously, Chris Mason's our guy. He's our guru for recruiting. So definitely, that's a lot of
information, man.
A lot of information. But where can they find that information and how much?
They can find all of that for $2 a month. Patreon.com/Sooners360-817. That should be my information there. You can follow me on YouTube. Go to Sooners, just search for Sooners360. Subscribe to my channel to get my recruiting updates, or subscribe to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast on your podcast of choice. I talk recruiting. I'm going to be going in depth on all of these names. In a pod I'll record probably tomorrow, talk about Kamori Moore, talk about the 4 or 5 guys I think OU should go after to replace Moore and Picard. Talk about the quarterback situation, just probably a little bit more in depth than the 5-minute, quick spiel I gave here.
Yeah.
And again, while those were the top kids, I'll just give you a blitz of 5 more names here. So 5 new names to watch that appeared in September. The first one is Davion Gross. He's at Lone Star Frisco with Ryder Mix, the 2026 tight end. He's a 5-star wide receiver running back, 6'2", 195, just looks absolutely elite looking. Grant Wise was a offensive guard from 2026 who came in for the Houston game, I think. He's been to OU now 3 times. He's a top 150 player. OU just offered Jordan Clay, 6'4" wide receiver from San Antonio. He's top 100 in the nation. And I mentioned 2 linebackers before. A third linebacker is Ryder Mix from Denton Geyer. He's 6'3", 220. He looks really good. And this is good because OU needs to sign a big linebacker class in 26. Yeah. And the names had been a little short. It had only been Ja'Cory Smith, the Arkansas linebacker, teammate of Amarian Robinson. He came in for the Tennessee game, but that was the only name at linebacker that was really firm. But now we have Kenneth Goodwin from California, Keenan Harris from St. Louis, and now Ryder Garcia from Texas. So we're getting some more names at linebacker to track for 2026 recruiting. Since 25 linebacker recruiting has been a little all over the place, but let's hope in year 2 Zach Alley can get us 3 studs to reload the linebacker room.
No, I got you. And people, please go down to the bio. The links and everything for Sooners 360 is down there. Jason, we're going to circle back to you to kind of end this show. What are your thoughts going into this game? Just like your overall thoughts, kind of mix that up with what do you think OU has to do, to win this game going into the bye week?
What are my thoughts? My thoughts are it's not as bad as everybody wants to make it out to be right now. I think that you've got a defense that can keep you in every game. And I said this coming into the week. I said this coming into the week before. You only have to get a little bit better on offense each week. It feels like they're getting healthier on the offensive line. I know the offensive line didn't look great last weekend. But on further review, actually, when you go back and look at some of the openings that they had for the running backs to run through, had the ball been handed off or had Jackson decided to take off or whatever, and then we saw the way that Hawkins was able to run at times, I feel like that it's not as bad as it seems because I was up against one of the best defensive lines in the country. I know that Auburn is pretty good on the D-line as well. Auburn has some skill guys, but they don't have a quarterback that can really feed them. So I feel like if you go out there and you get a couple of stops early and you can get, even just a touchdown lead to start with, you should see them kind of fall apart because that's kind of what they're doing. I think that you just got to put your nose down and get it done. And I do believe that this is, as I said when we started talking about all this, Oklahoma still has everything it's looking for out in front of it. It really does. And you've got a kid that is dynamic at quarterback. It doesn't feel exactly like Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams, but it feels similar, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have the line that you had that year. You don't have necessarily the running back situation that you had that year. You certainly don't have the receiver situation. A lot of young guys, but this is a kid that I feel like he can go out there and lead the way. And again, as I said, I don't think that you have to be as dynamic offensively in this league as you've had to be in the past. I think this is the league that is built on defense. Mm-hmm. And if you go out there and get a little incrementally better every week, you're going to have chances to win games. I think that they should win this football game, guys. It's not Auburn and Alabama and Georgia have a hard time at Jordan Hare. It doesn't seem like anybody else does.
That is very true, and they say it gets weird down there, and that could be a weird thing. I piggyback that, man. I think you still have it's a lot of season left, guys. We're 3-1. Has it been perfect? No, far from perfect, but you're 3-1, and I'd rather be on the 3-1 side than the 1-3 side, right? So the thing is that you haven't necessarily played up to the expectation, which we talk about a lot here on this channel. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot to play for, man. I think you just got to give this team another chance to go out there and show you if they can actually make the corrections, right, with what they have. I think that going in there, Auburn is obviously their fans are going to be jacked for a bit, and I think that they are going to try to put Hawkins in a bunch of crazy situations. But I think that if you just move the ball and pick up first downs, get confidence. I think as long as you do that and we're not, going at some crazy pace and, as long as you can stay out of 2nd and 7, at least stay in 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 3, right? 3rd and 3, different things like that. That's what you want to do is just move the ball, which I think that you can do. And I'm eager. I'm excited to see what his decision-making looks like in this offense. So defensively, I think just making sure we're not playing too aggressive. I think that we just, hell, I don't know. I don't have an issue with how we play. I think we just play the same way, keep playing, keep making them earn everything against us, which we have made teams do. It's just offensively, we've got to find a pulse. Mr. Mason?
Well, I think, again, if he's healthy, Jaquez, there's no reason why Jaquez Petaway out of high school is a great looking wide receiver, right? Yeah. There's no reason why he can't all of a sudden have a Marvin Mims kind of season, right? Blow up and just start. If Hawkins trusts him and they start clicking, I mean, there's no reason he can't blow up and have a big season. So, can Zion Kearney and Zion Reagans in a couple of games get better and better? Sure, they can. They're very talented kids. We got a good wide receiver coach. There's no reason why our wide receiver room can't rebound and get better week over week over week, right? I don't know what you can get out of Jacoby Johnson. That move puzzles me a little bit, but I'm not at practice, and he's obviously, they're down so many bodies. Maybe it makes sense, but I do think offensive line wise, some folks are just like giving up, and I'm like, okay, incrementally, they can get better week over week if we have the same guys out there, cohesion wise, teamwork wise, communication wise. All the things, Gabe Ickert and everybody else is kind of bashing them for, all rightly, can improve, right? Are they going to be a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line? No, but if they can get incrementally better, giving more opportunities for Hawkins to make plays, and he's making plays at a higher percentage than Jackson Arnold, then the offense can get better and better. Hopefully, we'll start to see these incremental things this week.
Let me jump in there and just say this right here. I think you got to give them some confidence as well. You got to pick up first downs. You got to be able to move the ball because, damn, I wish I would have saved that clip. Somebody took that clip of that play where Jackson was supposed to hand off the ball to Borns, and there's nothing but just wide openness, a big meadow out there, wide open spaces like the Dixie Chicks, right? And you're sitting there. He was pissed. He was pissed. And you're sitting there just like, man, like you gotta, like I said, were they good? Were they bad? Yeah. Were they terrible? No. The offensive line has given you chances at times, different drives to go and do something. You can sit there and say, oh, that Tennessee defense was whooping, that D-line was whooping your ass all night. And you know what? Yeah. Maybe I get that to you 70% of the time or 80%. But damn, those turnovers came at some really inopportune times.
If they pitch the ball on the same pitch, if he pitches the ball to Javonte there, he walks into
for a touchdown. So I mean, there are times where it's about everybody just gaining confidence out there too and feeling like they're doing well. It's not like this offensive line is that penalized. I mean, and you know what I'm saying? Like for us to be this bad, you think be penalties as well, but it's not. It's just execution just has eluded us all year. That's why I say we got to start somewhere. And where I would start is let's just make some plays. Go out there and make some plays and feel good, man. I mean, and that's what you want to do. It's like I said, we got to take the crowd out early, but if we're giving predictions, if you guys want to drop your scores in there, I saw somebody say 3-0 OU, but I'm gonna say 21-10 OU.
Chris, go ahead.
No, oh yeah.
Oh, I think he's frozen.
Did he freeze? Oh gosh.
Mr. Mason. Okay, well, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, he froze.
I think Oklahoma's going to win this one pretty easy too. I think they go out there and probably, I'll say 28 to 10. 10 will work. I don't think they give up more than that. Chris.
See what we got. Bud Bundy. That's funny. 27 to 24.
He got his hand down his pants just like Bud Bundy.
33-9 OU. 12-3 OU. 31-10 OU. 2-0. 21-17 Auburn. You're a hater. 38-10 OU. Okay. All right, man. Let's see. Big
31-6.
24-17. Shout out to the championship standard. Y'all go check those guys out right there.
Those guys are good, man.
Those guys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Sooners Cowboys got 28-10 OU. Bagman has 17-7 Boomer. That could be a realistic score right there, too. 50-5 OU. Oh, Kyle, you crazy.
Oh, boy, Kyle.
24-13 OU. Jimmy Satterfield. T. Boomer said 31-6 OU. Okay. So we are feeling good about ourselves. Okay.
Yeah, all the negativities, I think it's a little overblown, you know.
It is 4 games into the season, man. You know what that game was. Contrary to belief, I'll sit here and say it. I think we win that game with a competent offense. Injuries aside, I think we win with a competent offense that's playing off of that defense, right? But at the very least, you take them into that fourth quarter down the wire, right? You make that an instant classic type of ordeal, not what you saw. So that's just me, man. 35-10 Mars. Okay, Mars.
56-10.
Give something to think about. That would be crazy. If Hawkins goes out here and goes crazy on Auburn, Texas fans will say it's Auburn, they're sorry, but you'll also say y'all haven't played a competent quarterback this entire season, right?
They haven't. They haven't played a team with a pulse on offense once. The Texas fans are in here pounding their chest. At what point do we get to see? Oh, I know when you play Oklahoma.
And you throw the records out, you throw everything that's been happening out.
Oh yeah, all this shit talking about OU's in such a terrible spot. And guess what? They're gonna beat your ass anyway in the Red River. And then what are you gonna have to say? That's a beautiful thing to be a Sooner fan.
Jason, let's go ahead and announce it as we end this show. We are bringing back the hopefully I'm announcing the right thing. We are bringing back the joint post game pod, people. Yep. So and we'll definitely have Chris Mason on here with us for that pod. He's been holding me down, but Jason and I will be doing the pods or whatnot after the game. So definitely tune in. It'll be on both channels. So tonight, hit that like button on both channels, man. We had upwards of over 90-something people in this in the chat, and
I'll have 300 in there. 300. Come on.
Oh, we had we had people in the chat then. So that being said, like and subscribe on both channels, y'all. I think we out.
You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one